Have you been trying to figure out if Orlando or Dallas is going to be the best fit for you and your family? Well, we're going to be talking about that exact topic today with a great friend of mine. He is a real estate agent in Orlando, and he is super knowledgeable about the area. And he's going to kind of give us a little background about himself first, and then we'll kind of get started. But if you're watching this on replay, be sure to put comments, ask questions in the comment section. And if you're watching this live now, make sure that you put your questions out there so that we can get them answered either during the live stream or there towards the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Ken Pozak.
Hey, how are you?
Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, Pozak. Yep.
It's Pozak. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Orlando versus Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you lived in Dallas?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question. So Dallas area, probably most of my life.
Nice. Very cool. I am not from Orlando originally. We chose Orlando because we are huge Disney fans and we don't like hurricanes and a lot of other reasons I'm sure we can get into today. But yeah.
Cool. So where did you originally from where again? Sorry.
I'm originally from Michigan. And
Michigan?
Yeah. My family, I've got 3 kids and married, and we came down here for Disney all the time. And we also went down to like Naples and Marco and all over Florida. And we're just like, you know what, one day we're going to retire to Florida. This is going to be our thing. And then my wife and I were like, what if we bought like a second home in Florida? Where would that be? And we're like, I think it would be Orlando. And then I was like, what if we just moved instead, like just picked up and moved? And so we did that in 2016. And so I was a real estate agent then in Michigan and real estate agent here. And it's been amazing. So just my only regret is that we didn't do it sooner.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, so you've been an agent in Orlando for a little while, but tell me a little bit about your team and your YouTube channel and a little bit about that, just in case people are wondering.
Yeah, for sure. So I run a real estate team here in Orlando, and we've got 14 members now. We're growing like every month. It feels like it's been really cool. And I do run a real estate YouTube channel about like basically not really a real estate per se. It's like all things Orlando, life in Orlando, theme parks, and then real estate, because there's people that are moving here from literally all over the world. And so kind of giving them insights into what it's like to live here. And it's been a lot of fun. The journey's been amazing.
Do you feel like your personal experience, because you've personally relocated there, has helped you a lot with those that are trying to seek the same thing?
I think so. Yeah. Just getting to know the areas, getting to know the schools, getting to know, Disney's huge here, obviously, but then like what else is there? Right. And so, just explaining that and, it's been a lot of fun, just, kind of helping people recreate the journey that we went through. And it's been fun.
That's awesome. So I guess we're going to start this little debate, this little versus off with the weather, because that, to me, that's always the most fun place to start. I've always been fascinated by the weather, even as a kid. So tell us a little bit about the weather in Orlando. What can people expect if they move to Orlando?
Yeah, so it is blazing hot for not like Vegas hot, but it's hot and humid for like 3 to 4 months out of the year. Like right now we're getting into hot season. It's like 93 degrees out. It's a little bit humid. And then as July and August rolls around, it gets really humid. The crazy thing about those humid days though, is that it rains almost every day for 15 minutes. It's like a flash rain, done. It cools everything off, makes it a little bit more tolerable. But I'll tell you, like November through April, it's like the most perfect weather. It's just like, it doesn't get too chilly. At night, it gets down to like the 40s, but during the day, it's in the 70s. It's just perfect weather. And so for me, coming from Detroit where it was snowy half the year, it's been a remarkable change. But what about in Dallas?
So in Dallas, we get heat, but it's more like desert heat. So if there's humidity, it's because it's about to rain. We've had a pretty unseasonably wet lean into summer lately. So it's been raining just about every day, but that's really lowered our normal high temperatures. We'd normally be in like the 90s by this time in June. So it does get hot, but it's more of a drier heat, which is nice because humid heat, I feel like I'm sweating a little bit more if I'm in humid heat than I'm in dry heat.
Yep.
And then I would say too, our winters are pretty mild as well here. So we're not going to see, if we see snow, it's pretty rare. The crazy freeze that we had back in February, that was like a 1 in 100 kind of thing for the entire state. So
I was there in Dallas in February, and I was freezing my butt off. I was like, I thought this was Texas, and they were like, oh, this isn't normal. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. But no, it was I was freezing. But yeah, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, I really, I've lived in the area, like I said, most of my life here. I grew up just outside of Dallas, about 45 minutes. My parents owned a bakery called Castellina Bakery in East Dallas for 20 years. And so I kind of grew up in the country, but then we would go to the city for the bakery. So every Saturday, instead of Saturday morning cartoons, it was off to work with the family, and just learned a lot there. But then even in college, I stayed in Texas, I guess because it's so big. But I thought about Arkansas and the University of Arkansas, but my heart took me down to College Station. So I went to Texas A&M. So that's kind of, so I've experienced the humidity, the closer you get to the ocean.
Sure.
And I did not like it at all.
It's not too bad. You definitely get used to it. It took us probably 2 summers to really get used to it. And you kind of navigate in and out of air conditioning left and right. And that's the thing, like everywhere you go has air conditioning. You're usually more chilly than anything because everywhere you go, they've got it really turned down. But then, you get used to it. And it's, for me, I enjoy it. My skin is always feeling good. It's not dried out ever. I do have a little bit of curly hair, more than I used to, but other than that, it's doing well.
Yeah, we do see a little bit of severe weather, and I know that you have severe weather as far as hurricanes. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that. But here we are a part of Tornado Alley, so we do see tornadoes and straight line winds that will blow over your fence when they kind of come through, and it's not even a tornado, but the winds are just blowing so hard in certain points or certain times of the year, especially in the spring. We'll see a little bit more, but I will say that since they've gotten better at warning people as to when those events are passing through, that the fatality rate on any type of serious weather is going to be very, very low. Even the ones that hit in Dallas, like Dallas proper, I think that was even a couple years ago. The ones that ran through that area, there were no fatalities.
Oh,
so
that's good. Yeah, that's huge.
So
well, here, we have tornadoes
Okay.
every once in a while, like kind of out in the countryside. There's really not much in where I live or any of the Central Florida, but hurricanes are a thing. And so we have hurricane season, 4 or 5 months out of the year, it could potentially come. But the cool thing is we know they're coming like a week in advance. So you can prepare and you get your food ready, or a lot of us have generators, although, very rarely do we lose power. But it's definitely something that's the trade-off, is like the instant tornado versus the hurricanes are coming. But either way, you got some weather to worry about there.
Yeah. So you have that advanced prep time that you can prepare your property. I'm sure that, and with Orlando's on the, it's on the interior, right? So it's not it's on the west side of Florida, not the east side facing the Atlantic. So it's less likely to get hit directly.
Yeah,
correct?
we're like east side, or we're like east center, if you will. And so, so like Irma was our last big one. That was like 2-3 years ago, and 3 years ago. And, it was Cat 5 when it hit the Gulf. And then by the time it got to us, it was like tropical storm. It was like hard winds, but it wasn't anything massive. And so, we didn't, some of the people with like older roofs that are like 20-30-year-old roofs, they'd lost a few shingles, but we don't see like big roofs get taken off or anything like that, because we are so far inland. But we're closer to the east coast. We're like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to the coast.
Okay. That'll kind of give me a little bit of perspective too. So you're not right next to the coast. You're still a little ways away.
Yep.
It's kind of good and bad, because you're not, I mean, the beach is not too far away, but at the same time, it kind of, okay.
Yeah, so let's get into stuff to do. How about that? Orlando
Yes.
versus Dallas. So yeah, we're 45 minutes from like the Space Coast. So we're like NASA, SpaceX, Blue Origin, all those guys take off, which is huge. Obviously, they take off in Houston as well, but I can see them take off from my house, which is really cool.
Wow.
But if we want to go up close, we can. Yeah, and so and then they're over on the beach. So you've got like Cocoa Beach, Daytona, that whole side. You got the Daytona 500 over there. There's a lot of cool stuff there. And then we're only we're an hour from Tampa, where the Buccaneers play, and then 90 minutes from that coast. So we're pretty fairly equidistant. And then we've got Disney here, right? So Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Legoland. There's like it's the theme park capital of the world. So there's always something to do, and that's something that we've really enjoyed.
Wow. No, that sounds like it does have a lot. For here, I would say that as far as sports teams, I know you've got Orlando Magic and then Miami Heat, which probably is not too far away, but Orlando's probably the closer team of the two. And then for here, we've got the Dallas Mavericks, and then we have the Dallas Cowboys.
Are the Cowboys still a thing? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they're still a thing. I have a couple of relatives that are really huge Cowboy fans. And I remember the day when they went to the Super Bowl. I mean, that was pretty life-changing. I mean,
huge deal.
80s, huge.
Well, being from Detroit originally, we've got the Detroit Lions, and they've never been in the Super Bowl. So it's all good. So,
and also too, in my lifetime, I did get to see the Mavericks win the NBA Finals that one year that we had Dirk and all of them.
That's right.
That was a phenomenal experience. I didn't get to go to any of the games because I was super pregnant, but we did get to watch like the finals, and that was when we had the bunny ears, and so we were like, someone's holding the bunny ears up, and so that was kind of fun.
That's cool.
We had parties and stuff. For the most part, I would say Texans are pretty chill. We like to hang out, and we'll do a lot of outdoor type activities, especially because we don't have the snow. So we do have a lot warmer weather, so we can get out and go about. There's Six Flags that's in Arlington. We also, if you wanted to go float, there are like 5 lakes, man-made lakes around Dallas. So you can go boating, tubing, skiing on the lakes, which is nice. And you don't have to drive too far. I would say that you could get to sailboating too is a thing. A lot of people like to go out sailing. And to beat the heat here, other than the lakes, there's a lot of splash pads. A lot of the communities will have splash pads for the kids to go out and play if they're little, and then they'll have lessons and stuff. Indoor pools, outdoor pools throughout the year if you want to take advantage. So lots of things to do there. And then there's a pretty big, I feel like, cycling or bicycling community that we have in Dallas. So a lot of, even the priest that married my husband and I, he was training for the Hotter Than Hell. And so there's several like biking communities if you're a biker, not like motorcycle, but like you want to actually use your legs and
different kind of biker. Yeah.
That kind of biker. So we have a little bit of that. There's a lot of things to do in like Weston, Deep Ellum type place where a lot of there's farmers markets. They used to have a really cool restaurant, the ball that's the iconic ball that's in Dallas skyline. There used to be a restaurant up there, and it's closed down since COVID happened. We've lost a lot of, things. But there used to be that cool restaurant. And it was actually a Wolfgang restaurant, and it would rotate. So you could actually
super cool. See the skyline, kind of like up in the skyline. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that they do something and it comes back, or that something else takes its place. But as for right now, a lot of our shopping areas too. So like Plano has really grown a lot, which is in North Dallas.
Yeah.
And
I've been there. Been to Shops at Legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful area.
Yeah. That's it's one of the newer ones, more of on the luxury side of things. So they did really design that really, really well for higher end type consumers. So that way you don't have to drive all the way into downtown, which is where a lot of the higher end stuff was.
Sure.
And so I kind of feel like we have two business hubs, so to speak, when it comes to jobs. So you do have the Plano, North Dallas area where they do have a lot of new businesses, a lot of tech companies will be in that area. My husband, who used to work for McAfee, so McAfee headquarters is up there. And then there's a couple other ones that I know that, so we are getting something from Florida, Ken. Why can I think of it? The golf, what is
Top
it called?
Golf?
PGA.
Oh, PGA. Okay.
PGA is moving their headquarters to North Dallas.
No way. That's crazy.
Florida. So we got your PGA people. Sorry.
Oh man, that's all right. It's funny because we're supposed to be the golf capital of the world, but like I don't feel like there's that many people that I mean, there's plenty of people that golf every day. It's like there's golf courses everywhere, but like it doesn't seem like that many more than everywhere else. But yeah, I heard that they were moving out, so that's an interesting thing. Yeah, very interesting. We in terms of like jobs and that sort of thing here, who are some of your top employers there in Dallas?
So I know Charles Schwab just moved their headquarters to Westlake, which is right next to South Lake. So it's one of the suburbs of it's closer. So like you've got Dallas and you got Fort Worth, and the DFW airport's kind of right smack dab in the middle.
Yep.
And so I guess closer to the west side, so closer to Fort Worth, is where Charles Schwab kind of built their headquarters up there. Raytheon has a couple of campuses here. Texas Instruments has a couple of campuses too. I know Fossil has headquarters here. Trying to think of what are some of the other ones. A lot of tech, like I mentioned. Some of them are like tech that you wouldn't, they're not like common, like McAfee's probably the most common tech one that I can think of. I'm sure there's a couple others, but what about, I know that we have a lot of tech, and then I do feel like there is more health related, like nursing jobs, because I feel like every suburb has at least two big hospitals. And then they've got all those minute clinics, and a lot of home health people are needed as well in DFW. So I do feel like if you're in the health industry, you could probably find a job relatively easily in healthcare here. So
that's awesome. Yeah. We've got we're like tourism is number one, as you can imagine. That's our number one driver. And so there's just everything obviously from Disney, and Disney's the number one employer here. Universal's closely second, but then Orlando Health and Advent Health are like closely 3 and 4. There's these huge health systems, and really people from all over Florida come to Orlando for healthcare at this point. And so you've got these huge health systems hiring people from all over the world, all over the country at least. And so we have people from New York, Jersey, LA, like there's people moving here from just all over, which has been really cool to see. And then we've got defense, like we've got the Department of Defense, like people like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and all of those kind of guys, they build F-16s and that sort of thing here. And so that's a big one. And then we're starting to see more and more tech companies come here as well. So find home in Orlando, which is pretty cool. So getting a little bit more diverse away from the tourism thing, which is cool. But our average our average salary for all of Orlando right now is like $39,000. So not huge, but on the way up. So, I mean, you've had so many people when you think about the average, right? You've got a lot of like healthcare workers, tech workers making a lot of money. And then you've got like the baseline Disney people they got 74,000 employees here that make, 12 to $15 an hour. So,
yeah. No, I can see that too with, I think, people that are restaurant owners or chain owners too, they'd probably be on the little bit lower end of the income earning, just in general, more than likely. But then you've got, we do have, as far as other things to do, we do have the Dallas World Aquarium here, which is really nice to go to if you're ever in the downtown area. And then also the Pro Museum, which it used to be called the Science Place. They had it over in Fair Park. And now it's totally new building. It's actually really close to the Dallas World Aquarium, so similar area to that. and it's got like 3 or 4 different levels, and they
Oh,
do
cool.
field trips and that type of thing too. And also the state fair, so is held every year
Is that
in
like a
Texas.
carnival or what is that?
You have to come. Is it a little carnival? No, it's really, really huge. There's lots of vendors. They have a fried food contest every year with all the vendors that are there locally.
Yeah,
So I've seen everything from fried peanut butter and jelly to fried Coke, fried grilled cheese, fried anything that you can think of, fried, what is it, Frito pie. I mean, they've gotten really creative, and there'll be awards that they give away for these things. So
yeah.
if they won the contest, it'll be like most creative, best sweet, best savory, for the
That's
fried
super cool.
foods.
Yeah.
So I do like to go there and just kind of see what the next latest and greatest is when it comes to fried food.
How
Not
they
that I
can
would
get
go around and eat all of it because you'd get really sick.
right.
But
Makes for a good night, that's for sure. It's a funny story. The first time I ever went to Texas, some friends of mine were like, I'm excited. I've never been. I just saw like, cattle and I'm thinking like steak. I'm like, hey, let's go get some good food. And they're like, oh, we're going to take you down to the Roadhouse. I'm like, yes, the Roadhouse. That sounds super authentic. We pull up and I kid you not, it was Texas Roadhouse. I'm like, I have Texas Roadhouse in Michigan. Why are we here right now? I was so upset. And by like night 3, they took me to like a legitimate Roadhouse, but like,
okay.
that was so funny. I was like, what a letdown after all this time.
Oh man, no, that's funny. I would have taken you to Hutchins Barbecue in
Hutchins.
yep,
All right.
Hutchins. Yeah, you got to go. It's in they had one in McKinney, but that location burned to the ground. I'm not
Oh
sure how
no.
that happened, but
No.
they had another location, luckily in Frisco. So they were, obviously that location is still thriving, and I've been there a couple of times for
Yeah.
date nights and that kind of thing. So it's
Awesome.
always so good. I mean, they have this peach cobbler. It's like got some yellow cake mix in it or something. I don't know
Oh,
what.
nice.
It's
Sounds good.
really good, really, really good. But yeah, let me think of. Oh, we have. I'm sure. Are there quite a few botanical gardens that are in Orlando that people can come and visit? I know we've got one in Dallas and one in Fort Worth.
Yep, we've got Lou Gardens here. Lou Gardens is like the biggest, and they're definitely in like and it's in an affluent area called Winter Park. That's a really cool one. So yeah, they're definitely getting more and more into the art scene here. So you've got it's interesting. I mean, Orlando has always traditionally been a very transient area. It's you never know anybody who's like from Orlando. And it's kind of funny. Like the joke is when you meet somebody that was born and raised here, like, oh, they're the unicorn in the room. And so, but now you're getting more and more people that are entrenched and they're investing in the arts and investing in infrastructure and a lot of really cool things to see. And so that's been really fun to see, like, more botanical gardens and all kind of that popping up left and right. It's been cool.
Yeah. Because the Dallas Arboretum, with kind of going with the arts a little bit, they will have what they call Cool Fridays in the summer, and the Dallas Wind Symphony will play on the lawn, and then you get to bring your picnic. I've never been, but I've heard it's phenomenal.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center, and they're expanding that right now, and they bring in like a lot of off-Broadway stuff. Like Hamilton was here, and a lot of different different shows that come through. And like I said, like investing in the arts, I think is great. Like it's something a little bit more culture. I'm a huge Disney fan. Like if you can't tell, like I'm a big Marvel Disney fan. But they need a little something beyond that, especially to grow the kids, expand their mind a little bit more than that. Yeah. And so art scene, other than that, what does Dallas look like?
So art scene, we do have the Dallas Museum of Art. They have, that's closer to the heart of downtown, and they have they'll have art too, like outside of the museum too, that you can just kind of walk and appreciate some of that as well. They'll have summer camps too at the art museum as far as that goes. The Dallas Ballet obviously, and I think there's both Dallas and Fort Worth. There's probably duplicate of whatever's in Dallas. It's probably in Fort Worth too. So that's kind of nice. If you didn't like the Dallas Zoo as well, you can just go check out the Fort Worth Zoo, which is an hour away.
That's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
So that's neat. It's almost like the Twin Cities in a way, to where if it's not in one city, it's probably in the other. Or if you didn't like it over here, you probably like it better
over there.
Over there, yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Super cool. And so the Dallas Metroplex, explain that to me, because I hear that all the time. Like, we live in the Dallas Metroplex. What is that, like the Westlake, Southlake, Plano, like that whole thing?
So the Metroplex engulfs all of Dallas and Fort Worth. So when you say Metroplex, that's really big, because that's both cities combined. Is like, Captain Planet, your powers combined. Right. So, and then some other things too, the Gaylord Texan, it's a very prominent hotel and convention center here. It's located in Grapevine, which is just north of the airport. And it's where a lot of the professional, I think, players come in. So if there's another basketball team that's coming in to play the Mavericks, or another team that's coming in to play the Cowboys, or if it's another hockey team coming to play the Stars, they will have, it's a very like fancy hotel, has their own like in-house restaurants that are really fancy, lots of like luxury shopping kind of around that area. And then they'll have date night stuff. Like my husband and I went to this murder mystery date night show that they had there. They also, every winter, they'll have the what is it called? It's called Ice, I guess, is just
at the Gaylord Palms. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
we got a similar. I think I'm sure they're owned by the same people in the same place. It's like called like Ice, and they do like Charlie Brown and all that kind of stuff. Usually, yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. I thought that was an Orlando thing, but now I'm like, oh, I guess it's
everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
Well, that's cool to know that they have that there. Where do they normally have the Ice stuff located for Orlando or that area?
At the Gaylord, yeah. So it's like at the Gaylord.
You have a Gaylord hotel there too?
Yeah. It's called the Gaylord Palms. So it's it's like the convention center, and then they've got it's kind of like Disney World adjacent, but they do the big ice thing there. So that's always fun. Well, Texas is the same way. Like, we don't really have. Well, you guys have snow every once in a great while, but we don't ever have snow here. And so to get have to put a jacket on and go bundle up because it's like 10 below. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I had no idea that the Gaylord was a branch hotel. Yeah. It makes sense, but I haven't heard of it in any other location than Dallas. So now I'll have to go look it up to see what other places that's located.
Where else they exist, yeah.
Yeah. What are some cool historical places to go if people want to see historical type things? And
that's a good question. So, Orlando is so new. You have like downtown that has like some homes that were built in the 20s and 30s, but really not a lot of like great history. And so a lot of times you're going up to like St. Augustine, which is like, 3 hours away. You're going down, some of the coast areas have really cool older towns, but there's not like a ton of like great history here, unfortunately. And so where like some of the older cities like Boston, they can go back, look at our history of the past 300 years. Like Orlando was mostly like agriculture and orange groves and that kind of thing until all of this happened. And so not a ton that you can really like point back to, which is that's probably our maybe one of our downfalls.
Because I would think they would have a little bit of maybe even just naval history, since you are so close to the coast, or most of Florida has such a large coastline that you would have maybe some sort of naval history, kind of like Hawaii, how they have the Pearl Harbor Monument. I mean, that's totally different because that's a moment in time that they've, that was very significant. But, I think that there'd be something along the coast, but not really much.
Yeah, not really much. There's like, there's lots of museums and they pay tribute, and there's constantly things turning in and out in terms of different shows and that kind of thing. But in terms of like localized history, there's not a ton.
So here it's a little bit different. So we did have a traumatic event happen in Dallas when JFK was assassinated. So we have
on the Mew, or not the Mew, the grassy knoll. What is it?
Yep. We have it's called the Third Floor Museum.
Okay.
And it has like, you can go and you can see like where it was, and they have like models and stuff of what happened, and the snipers.
Crazy.
Yeah, kind of weird to me. It's a little bit dark, but they also
Sure.
have a Holocaust museum in
Oh, okay.
Dallas too, and then they have other historical, like other cities will have different historical points. I know that Frisco has a heritage museum, so you can go and learn
Oh,
about
cool.
the history of Frisco, which is really, really nice.
Hmm.
And then McKinney has a lot of history because that's where I'm living, where I'm from. They have a lot of history in their historical downtown where you can go walk, and you can actually take historical tours in around the Halloween time. They'll have like ghost tours, which is kind of neat.
Hmm.
And then there's also some other self-guided tours that you can take in the historic district, and you can see where certain people used to live.
Oh, cool.
And like the doctor used to live here, and
Hmm.
this person used to live here. So it's kind of neat. I'm sure some of the other cities have they'll have a history museum. I know that the count, like Collin County itself, which is a bigger area, they have a history museum too. So I think we have a little bit more when it comes to history preservation probably in this area, it sounds like, than
Yeah,
Orlando.
for sure. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, like over on the coast, you have Cape Canaveral. You've got the NASA Science Center there, which is really
Yeah.
cool. They have like all of the old rockets that have taken off and landed, and you can learn about, there's actual spaceships that they bring inside, and like you can
Mm.
tour like that in terms of history. Like that's probably the one thing that stands out for me. But they've got like they call it, I think, the rocket graveyard. So it's like all of the rockets that have
Oh,
and
wow.
you've got all like standing up. It's very impressive, and that's just like 5 minutes away from where the new rockets launch. So that's cool. Kind of like nature or history comes to life, like right in front of you. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that reminds me too. There's another museum. It's called the Flight Museum, closer to Dallas Love Field,
Okay.
where the Southwest headquarters is. So that's another employer. We have Southwest Airlines, the
Oh
headquarters
yeah.
is here too.
Yep.
So really close to, right next to Southwest, they took an old hangar, and they have like old planes. We have one of the capsules from NASA that's there. A lot of the different planes throughout the different generations. So like World War I planes, World War II planes. They have a part of a commercial airliner that you can
Mhm.
actually go and walk in and kind of
Oh,
see.
cool.
I think it's one of the old Southwest planes that they kind of reconstructed and remodeled. They have summer courses there. I actually used to teach some of the flight museum stuff for the summer camps there, and they would make model airplanes. And a lot of the volunteers that will volunteer, they used to be like pilots, or like they're retired, and they're just like so interested in it, and
Yeah.
it's so cool to meet them and to kind of get to know them as well, because their history is just so rich
Yeah.
in what they've kind of learned.
That's
And
awesome.
what they're kind of trying to pass on to the next generation is really
Yeah.
neat.
Inspire them to do something other than play Minecraft, probably.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh, they have
that's
a
cool.
flight simulator there too, so
Oh,
the kids
nice.
can learn and do a little bit of flight simulation when
Very
they're
cool.
there, which is really, really neat.
Yeah. So
Probably one of
let's talk about real estate maybe
yeah.
if we can. Texas is traditionally a little bit less expensive than Florida, which is crazy because Florida for the longest time was like a very easy, you come in, great, super affordable, right?
Yeah.
But Texas, I think you got more land than we do, and it's a little bit more spread out, so there's probably a little bit cheaper. But like, what's like in a good school district, what does like a 2,500 square foot 4-bedroom house sell for?
So it really just depends. I would say if you're looking in Frisco or Southlake, because those are probably the two top rated school districts in North Texas. I guess other than University Park, one of in that area too. So Frisco, University Park, or the Southlake area. I mean, your starting price for 4 beds. I would say it's probably closer to 450 for those areas, with Frisco probably being the most affordable out of the three. And then obviously too, you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel you're not going to probably get all the upgrades. It's probably not going to be like your expectations are going to be have to be really low. And you're probably going to pay quite a bit over asking because it's super competitive. Everyone that's relocating is looking at all the school data, and they are competing against each other for those prime spots.
Sure.
So that's been really hard, I would say. And the properties in those three areas can, I would say that if you're closer to University Park, I think starting price is probably closer to $1 million,
Wow.
to be realistic. But the home sizes there are usually a little bit bigger than what you mentioned. So you're going to get a little bit more than 2,500 square feet.
Sure.
But at the same time, your budget is probably at least going to be $1 million because you are in the heart of the city and you are close to everything. You're really close to the airport. You're really close to all the shopping that's there. You're not too far from downtown. So, I mean, you don't have to really drive anywhere, but the houses are very close to each other. So you've got one on top of the other on top of the other. And so if you don't like that kind of an atmosphere and you don't need to be in the heart of the city, that's why a lot of people are looking at other areas like South Lake and Frisco. South Lake is closer to the Fort Worth side of town. So it's just, let's see, there's Grapevine. It's kind of on the west side of Grapevine, in that area. And this Grapevine, Colleyville too, they'll have some top schools in there as well. You can get a little bit more affordability. So it just kind of depends. If you, Prosper has a good school district too. That's a little bit more affordable area, but you are a little bit further away from town. So usually the further you go away from town, and if you still have good schools, you can get more for your money. The closer that you are into either a suburb or the heart of the city, you are going to be paying quite a bit more
expensive. Yeah. Here, I think it's pretty similar. Like, where I live, Winter Garden, Windermere, 2,500 square foot house, 4 bedrooms, something newer with like decent, anything. It's going to be mid fours on up. If you're lakefront, it's going to be $1.5 million plus. We've got a lot of lakes here. Like there's over 100 natural lakes in the city of Orlando, but then there's like probably 1,000 within Central Florida, which is giant. It's ridiculous. So you got a lot. And so yeah, that's pretty much 450s is good. But then you got like Winter Park where like the botanical gardens are, or like some of the more historic big mansions are. The entry price is $1 million. So that's very similar to your University Park. And so you've got those like older, like, they've got everything a little bit more modern. It's not so like cookie cutter, right? You've got those like really nice, well done homes. And yeah, they're definitely bigger, probably more like 3,800 to 7,000 square feet. But yeah, we've got a little bit of everything. And then, then we've got the B and C areas that, you could still get a brand new construction house in the high twos. And so, yeah, I think it's probably pretty similar. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think if you don't need to be in the like top school district and you can still be in a good school district. I mean, not to say that one is better than the other I mean, they're all rated, but you can still be in a good school district and you could probably find something for $350, $400-ish, in some of the other areas that aren't as competitive, and still get you a good property. There's still properties too that are, a little bit further north, like I was talking about Prosper, and even in parts of Salina that will be zoned to Prosper because it's the city that's just north of there. Because a lot of times the school district line may be here, but then it goes into another city. And so you may be in a different city, but you go to Prosper schools, or you may be in McKinney, but you're zoned to Frisco schools. So makes sense. Just kind of depends. But I would say starting price, we could probably get away with $350, but for 2,500 square feet, I mean, it's probably going to be closer to $400. And then you have to consider competing with other people on top of that budget. So
what would real estate taxes be on like that $450,000 house?
On average, most of North Texas is hovering right around 2.3%. So that would be taxes for the year. And then just like Florida, we do not have state income tax. In other parts of the city, it may be closer to 2.5%. And if you're in new construction, sometimes they'll have additional taxes to set up utilities. Yeah, so we call them We have muds, PIDs, and PUDs. So,
Oh.
yep. So you don't want to get stuck in the mud, because MUD stands for a municipal utilities district. That's in any district that has to set up their own utilities. So anything
Mhm.
that's a little bit further outside of town that's new construction will more likely be in a MUD, a PID, or a PUD, depending on what the acronym stands for. Could be however long you have to pay that extra tax on top of your current property tax. So it's a
Interesting.
separate tax that you have to pay for the utilities in that area. So just kind of sometimes going out too far, you're either, if you go out too far, I mean, more than likely you're going to be on septic.
Fair
So
enough.
if you're out in the country, anticipate being on septic, and you may have to get your water from like a co-op water station. So you won't have those extra taxes, but at the same time, if you are in like a more developed or planned community, anticipate possibly the extra tax on top of what they're currently doing. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, for us, with like the 40/50 example, we'll just keep with that. You're probably looking at like 6,500. It's like the county tax is 1.4% of the assessed value, but it's not the assessed value and the purchase price almost never match. It's usually always a little bit lower. So yeah, for like a 450, you're looking at like 6,500 to $7,000, something like that. So a little bit lower, but and then again, no state income tax. We do have a lot of this. We call them CDDs, the Community Development District, where the developer passes along the utilities and roads and all that stuff back to the homeowner, and those bonds usually run for like 30 years.
Yep.
So
yep.
Yeah.
Similar situation here. We just call it differently. Something different.
Cool.
What about because you mentioned those are the county taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So that 4.3%, that's for us, that's county, city, and school tax all together combined into one. Is your school tax and your city tax different, or how are those assessed in Florida?
That's all rolled in. Yeah. So it's county. So our schools aren't run by the cities, they're run by the counties. And then even though they're zoned for different areas of the cities, they're really like, you'll have some areas, like you said, like McKinney and Fort Worth or whatever, they share very similar here. So sometimes like Winter Garden and Windermere, they have some crossover because it's all run by Orange County. And so, so the real estate tax includes like school tax, city tax, county tax, everything rolled into one.
Yeah, because for us, let's say that you lived in McKinney, but you go to Frisco ISD and you're in Collin County, you pay Collin County, you pay City of McKinney, but then you pay Prosper ISD for the school tax. So, and there could be parts of McKinney that you're paying Allen ISD, or if you're in Allen, you live in Allen, so you pay Allen, but your kids go to McKinney. So it can get really confusing with some of the taxes, but I usually get a list every year from my title company, and they kind of break down all of the costs. So if you live in this city and go to this school and in this county, it just really breaks it down easily, because there are some cities that are on the border of Denton and Collin County, and so it could half of the cities in one county and half the cities in the other county. So it kind of can get a little bit confusing sometimes.
Yeah, so that's why people need to reach out to you if they're moving to Dallas, so you can explain all this to them.
Pretty crazy. Right.
We got one or two more questions.
Yeah.
What's we got?
So we've got. We talked a little bit about jobs. I guess we covered that, and we covered. Yeah, we got everything done. Man, we're pretty efficient.
We crushed it. We did well. So, all right. So then who won? I don't know who won. I think we're very similar. It sounds very similar.
There's a couple people watching. Maybe they can tell us who won.
All right, deal.
We'll let them tell us. So Michelle, Michelle's a regular on my channel. So she said when she came from PR, I'm not sure what she means there, the dry heat was a shock. Oh, maybe that's a different state.
Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Oh, Puerto Rico. That's right. Thank you. I thought who can ensure this heat? I think who can endure is what she meant. We are going to evaporate. Yes. Broken lips, cough from dryness in the air. Yes, I agree. Sometimes the dryness can be a negative effect when especially in the winter. Sometimes if it's like a really dry winter, and my skin can get really sensitive and start to crack, and the same thing can happen in the heat. So I hear you about the dryness, Michelle. Sometimes that can happen. And then another Michelle, a different Michelle.
Right.
She says she's going to Orlando for the first time in December for a convention.
Well,
So
welcome, Michelle. I'm excited to see more conventions. Our mutual company, we have our convention supposedly next year here. We've got a lot more conventions. We were leading the way for conventions pre-COVID, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and so we'll see how things shift a little bit. So.
yeah, no, I'm excited to see some of that stuff come back too. And then she also mentioned, the show is super cool. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for rating us on coolness. We appreciate it. All right, Mike, he just posted a question. He said he's thinking of moving to Tampa. What are your thoughts on Tampa?
I love Tampa. I think it's great. There's a different vibe. There's a little bit. It's a different town than Orlando for sure. I think some of there's a lot of transients coming in and out. There's a lot of people moving into and out of both cities, but there's a lot of jobs going there. And you look at where the migration is happening. It's really Orlando and Tampa are two that are like leading the way. So Tampa's closer to the coast. You can get to the Gulf a lot quicker. They're cool. It's a really beautiful town. I think it's really personal preference on like job and all that kind of stuff. But like cost wise, they're very, very similar.
So what would you, have you done a Tampa versus Orlando video yet?
I have not.
Idea.
There we go.
People are thinking about it. All right. Also, he was asking, this is probably for me. He said he was also looking at Aledo. Aledo is a great area. They do have great schools. I have a good friend of mine. That's where she lives. So Aledo is for those of you watching that are not sure where Aledo is, Aledo's on the west side of Fort Worth. So it's if you point at downtown Fort Worth and then move exactly west, you'll hit Aledo. It's got good schools. It's just outside of the big metro area of Fort Worth, and that community is growing like gangbusters. And the affordability in Aledo is sick. It's ridiculous. I think I might invest in a property over in Aledo because it's so much more affordable. Between the two big cities, Dallas and Fort Worth, the Fort Worth side is definitely winning when it comes to affordability. So if you are looking on the Fort Worth side of town, I do have a lovely lady that helps me for if you're looking specifically at Fort Worth. And sometimes I have a free moment and I can drive over there too. But yeah, great. They call it Cowtown for a reason too, if you're interested in Fort Worth, because they have the stock show and rodeo, and I don't know if they have it every day, but you can go over there on the weekends and they'll just like release the cows, and
that's crazy.
Kind of cool to see. It's not like a bull run or anything, but they'll just release the cows out there, the big longhorns. And sometimes you can be driving around and you see a big field and you see just like longhorns. Just you're like, there's the city and oh, what? There's a cow right there, and it's got really big horns. So that's really nice. Oh, we got another question. Emmanuel says how the relationship is between taxes and all of the other Southeast states.
Yeah, Texas and the other Southeast states. I think it's great. I've got people that move from Florida to Texas and people that from Texas to Florida all the time. So I think that this is why this video really, does well, because you've got a lot of people looking to move between our states. The two biggest ones for migration in the entire country, right? I think I read something the other day that there's like for every 5 people that move to Texas, only 1 leave, which is like, that's a great thing. It's like that's one of the top in the country. For Florida, I think there's like for every 7 people that move here, 1 leaves. So like people are moving and they're not leaving, which is like a massive, I think, testament to how cool our cities are.
Yeah, they are. So there's still, can you still, how populated is Florida? Because I always wonder, like, there's so many people always moving there every day. Are they going to run out of space? I know Texas is so much larger.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think eventually they'll have to go up, like with Miami, they're starting to build up and up, right? There's building these skyscrapers and that sort of thing. But we've got plenty of land. I mean, like, our one county to the south of us, Osceola, it's still 80% rural. And so like we could take on plenty of people. But there's 1,000 people moving to Central Florida in Orlando, like every week. And so we've got to find places to put them.
Right. Absolutely. Now, I've always wondered about that, and just in other states in general, just because once you get out of, if you keep, with Dallas, once you finally get out of Dallas and all the suburbs, I mean, it gets pretty desolate. Like you have to drive to the next city before you get to civilization. And so, I've been to Florida once, and that one time I did go. It was like a band trip because I am a band nerd, former flute player. So we went on a high school trip to Orlando, played in a concert there somewhere for an excuse, right, to go to Florida, and we did Universal Studios is what we did.
That's
so
awesome.
I don't think we had enough money to go to Disney World, so probably just stuck with Universal.
It hasn't gotten cheaper since you've been, that's for sure.
But I've never been to that Disney. I've been to once to the other Disney, so I don't know the Disney World. There we go, Disney World as well, because there's land and there's world, and you have the world one.
We do that. We do, yeah.
All right, Keisha Jones, is there a lot of affordable new builds in Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, I just did a video on this in terms of like the most affordable places for new builds in Orlando. And like you've got, if you're willing to take a little bit of a drive to get away from some of the theme parks and some of the like the main hub, you can still build like a brand new house in like the high 200s. That's about as affordable as it's going to get. And then from there, some of the more popular ones, again, it starts in the 400s and goes up quickly from there.
So in that more affordable community, are they allowing investors to invest in those affordable ones? Are they very picky and strict about that?
No, they are. Yeah. So other than the condo developments, if they're single family developments, they're allowing investors. Although if they're going to multiple offers, which a lot of these builders are, you're not long have the days gone of like picking a lot, picking a model, picking your finishes. Builders are just building. And then when they get close to finishing, they sell them off, and usually, multiple offers. And so they are looking, if there's similar offers, they will go with the primary owner before they would go with an investor. But for the most part, there's no caps on them.
Wow. Yeah, it's a little bit restrictive here as well with new construction. A lot of the more established builders that have been around forever, like D.R. Horton, built all over the U.S., they will actually make you go get approved through DHI, which is their their in-house lender, just for the sole fact to make sure that you are not an investor, and that you're not using it as an investment property. So there's a lot more. And even some of the other builders too that are in the area, they are being way, way strict when it comes to investing in real estate with new construction. So,
That's right.
So Keisha said 300,000, which you mentioned already. She can find something new construction in that. And then she also said, what areas near Orlando have good school ratings? Another good question.
Yeah, so we're not allowed to say like which ones have like, or which ones are better than others, right? As a real estate agents, we're not allowed to say which ones are better. But like, in terms of ones that are 9s and 10s on good schools and greatschools.org and all those, you got a lot of them like Winter Park, Lake Nona, Windermere, Winter Garden. You got a lot of them that have like these A ratings. And then you also have to pay attention because a lot of them will have great K-5 ratings. They're like 10 out of 10. And then they very quickly go down after you get to middle school and high school, which I never fully understood. But so definitely check out like the greatschools.org. That's a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a website that I recommend. And the niche.com also has ratings as well. They have an ABCD scale for their ratings. And then I always tell people that if you want to know more about a school, to make sure that you go visit the school, visit the administrator, maybe get, like, let's say that you're interested in Lake Nona, get on the Moms of Lake Nona Facebook group, or I'm sure they have something similar, right?
Yep.
And ask parents that have kids that go to those schools to get you a clearer picture as to what you're really getting into, because the school may be rated really well, but then it may have some other issues and other problems that you're not going to foresee. So really doing your due diligence and not only looking at the ratings is what I always tell people to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because there's plenty of B-rated school areas that like I would easily send my kids to.
Yeah.
The administrators, that they're known for, their IB program, or they're known for their sports, or there's so many great ones. I agree. I think that you definitely have to dig in a lot more than just that rating. Because the other thing, a lot of these websites, it's just, they're 9s out of 10s because a bunch of parents maybe rated them, but they have terrible state scores or terrible, a lot of different things. And so digging into some of the ancillaries is a great idea.
Yeah. So Rebecca says, I lived in Orlando, then Tampa. Love both of those, but now I live in Jacksonville. Yeah. And we might have an opportunity to move to Dallas, and I'm praying that we get to go. I've been eyeing Addison. Ooh, yes, Addison is a good city. It's in Dallas proper, or North Dallas. So I would say if you're looking in Addison, they have their own airport, but I would say Addison, like when you have a postcard and you're writing it, you wouldn't write Addison, Texas. It would just be Dallas. So get with me. You can get with me later, Rebecca, if you'd like to, and we can kind of go over maybe some certain areas that might be best for you. And she also said that we are military approved. We are military, and apparently 3 year and 4 years to get for free in Texas. Not sure what that is. In Florida, something
VPK, so pre kindergarten.
Oh, okay. Free part-time daycare starting at 4 years old. There are some schools that do have a pre-K system here that you can send your kids to. It just depends on a lot of times they look at socioeconomic status and see, usually those kids get in first versus someone who has a really high salary and higher paying job. So yes, she said free preschool was kind of what she was clarifying. Oh, so it looks like she's got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old is her abbreviation. So the 3-year-old might be a little bit difficult. I know a lot of the faith-based churches here in Texas will have daycare systems or Mother's Day Out to where it's not as expensive too. So if it doesn't work to where you're able to get into the free preschool program, you can look into those options as well and see what other small preschools that are around that might be more affordable for you and your family. And a lot of times too, they'll have scholarships available for families as well. So I would look into all of those resources for sure. And I think that is everything because we pretty much close to an hour.
We did it. Yeah. This was fun. I appreciate the opportunity. This is cool.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. Hopefully one day, maybe my team will be as big as yours. We'll see.
Hey, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Always here to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to go ahead and wave goodbye to our lovely viewers and watchers, and we will see you all next time. I need to my notifications.